also want to talk about, I don't know what we said we were going to talk about second, but I find this interesting that Lindsay Hubbard has done in a recent interview, where she regurgitates the breakup with Carl. She says, Carl called producers when he was going to break up with her, and which, if that's the case, that is kind of low, right? I mean, anything for the show, I guess, and got that scene filmed. And she said, look, maybe in 10 years we'll be an acquaintance. The friendship is over. And now she's saying, here we go again, Sarah. Here we go again. She's
What?
saying she does not feel comfortable filming next season of Summer House. Now we still have to air a whole season where they're together and break up. And she says she's not going to film. She's not going to film with Carl, does not feel comfortable being in a house with him anymore. And here we go. So does she need to call Lala and Sheena and Katie, whatever the hell her name is, Maloney, and get so she says she's not going to film with Carl. She says she's done. She's not filming. That she, at this point in time, I would not be comfortable sharing a house with him after what he did, and she could never trust him. So is this true? Is Lindsay not going to film with Carl, or have we learned a lesson from Vanderpump Rules yet?
We've learned a lesson from Vanderpump because every single one of those individuals, including Ariana, filmed scenes this past season with Tom after they swore they never would. Look, I do this too. The minute I make a proclamation, like I'll never do this again, it's kind of what you told me about listening to Bethany's podcast. Then, you go back and listen, right? So I think you just never can say never. And I think she's going to probably reap the benefits like Ariana has, and she'll be back filming with him. And I think it's smart to film with him, and I understand it's so hurtful and painful, but, people want to see that side of it too. Like they still have these friend groups, and I'm sure a lot of women want to see her kind of get her vengeance and have a one-on-one with him and say everything that we're all thinking. So,
I mean, she's going to turn down the when the contract comes. I mean, unfortunately, we now have to watch an entire season still of the two of them together, and we have a long way before that. But it'll start filming the next season. Well, the next season will probably air in like February, and next summer. So, Lindsay, you're going to film with Carl. Come on, girl. Is she really not going to film with him? Come on. Sarah, these are the things that keep me up at night. Speaking of Bethany and her podcast, she did a little chat recently, and I don't think this is revealing anything because, when someone's really my friend, I keep it in the vault. It's her story to tell. We might do but Bethany, I mean, I got a text in the middle of the night being awoken by my good friend Elise Lane from RHONY. Bethany is putting Elise's name in her mouth on the latest podcast, which the story has nothing to do with Elise, although she went away with Elise, and it's all about Martha Stewart and how she had this. You know what the thing about, so I don't know if you listened to this episode. You know what the thing about Bethany is? Do you all have a minute? Do you have a minute, Sarah?
yes, we want to hear it.
She can't just, it's so subtle. This is like, she knows what she's doing. She can't just tell a story. It has to be and Martha told me I was like the most best at, like, whatever it is, she has to put in so subtly. There we go. With
I had to Google who Elise Lane was, but there she is.
Friend of from season 12, I believe 12.
Okay, go on.
All right, Elise. But Elise is like my really good friend. So Elise woke me up in the middle of the night to a text that fucking Bethany is talking about me. So look, Elise will come on. She'll tell her story. I'm not going to tell it for her. But there was no point for Bethany to put Elise's name in her mouth in this way. It's not okay. But Bethany, the thing about Bethany, she can't just tell a story. It has to be of like, well, I'm the most successful housewife of all. It's so subtle. She works it in there. So listening to this story, because Elise is like, press play, listen. I have to now have my side of it and clear this. So I had to listen to this Bethany podcast before Elise, and she just can't tell a story, and Martha, Martha tells me I'm the best at this. And it's like, oh God, the bottom line is she made up with Martha Stewart. But the Andy thing, which is trending, is, she's like, and I saw Andy and it's the holidays. And I thought maybe of going over and like, basically like, and I'm like, girl, I think Andy fucking hates you, right? And she's like, it's still too raw to talk to him. Like, I just don't think Bethany realizes her words. Like, I don't really think you're going to be friends today with Andy Cohen after all this, girl.
You all already know how I feel. Somebody sent me a clip. I believe she was talking about Dave Portnoy, who's the head of the
What did
CEO.
she say about him? Because I don't think on that same episode, maybe I stopped listening after the Elise part.
I did not listen to the full episode. I listened to that clip where she essentially goes, "Oh, well, Dave Portnoy confided in me. We have very rich friends. I'm going over to see them, very rich, very powerful. I'm having dinner with them tonight." And Dave, he had a falling out with them. He told them off. Not a good idea. I told Dave, not a good idea. Dave texted me. He wants to make up with them. He wants my advice, how to get back in with them. And not a good move, Dave. And I'm just thinking, like, who would tell her? Who would confide in her? Who would do business with her? Who would do anything with her? You know this. You have dealt with powerful people. There are people you keep in the vault. I don't care if you don't like Dave Portnoy. He's a powerful person. He has a lot of fans. He has a lot of people who will go to bat for him. I always have a theory. I think Dave hires multiple private investigators to kind of investigate people. I think Dave is very, very brilliant for whatever.
Dave doesn't like, he's like us on acid. He doesn't fucking care. He sits there and he's taking on the powerful Kim Kardashian. He's like, this fucking bitch. Let me tell you what a fucking bitch Kim Kardashian is, fucking with Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
and
but that's
it's like
that's strategic though, because you always punch up. And, she's a great person to punch up at because she's the biggest, no one has any empathy for Kim. Not that she needs any, but I mean, that's an easy target. And she's polarizing, that's a very strategic one, I think. But also Bethany's an idiot. I really, you had Meredith,
Lynch.
Meredith Lynch on, who's the TikTok kind of investigator of pop culture. And I loved her take on Bethany, how lost Bethany is. And she's just trying, and people don't want to hear how negative I am, especially in this wonderful holiday season. So I'm going to move on.
But do you see what I mean? Like you just said, like she tells the story instead of just being like, I'm going to dinner, which she does be like, oh, and it's just rich people. And I'm so rich and Dave is so rich. And I don't know which one of us is richer. And
it's insufferable. I don't know who listens to her and people.
These people,
I know.
Apparently they do.
Wonderful listeners slide in my DMs all the time, and they say, "Oh yeah, she's obnoxious, and she's this, and she's that." But she's really great. I'm like, are you guys hearing? Like, reread your message. No,
we have a love-hate relationship with Bethany. It's why. Listen, we just did our list.
Hate,
but you hate her. You and Meredith Lynch hate her. I'm like a little bit like the listeners here today. Yeah, there's something about Bethany that just I don't mind. I go back to the Sutton factor. I go back to which is so arrogant of me. It's so elitist of me.